Hello and welcome to the Hellraiser blog. If you enjoyed today's blog, please hit the subscribe button. We love growing the Hellraiser Boxing YouTube family. Fight I'm going to look at today, Amir Khan against Terence Bud Crawford, fight that there's a lot of interest in. To be honest, when I first heard this fight being announced, I've got to say I had no enthusiasm for it. I mean, look, we had Anthony Crolla against Vasily Lomachenko, which for me, you know, was always going to end one way, to the point that I didn't even realise the fight was on the day that it was. I woke up the next day, just heard people talking about it, that it had already been. Khan against Crawford, for me it fitted into the same bracket when I first heard, when it was first announced. The difference being that the reaction from people, obviously we've got a lot of subscribers now on the blog, and I can say Crolla against Lomachenko, not one message, not anybody inquiring about it. Khan against Crawford, I've had loads. And to me, when I first heard it, I just thought, well, it's just another British guy going out for a payday, getting overmatched. Because, I mean, from the Americans' point of view, I think Khan certainly would tick a lot of boxes. He will fit what they need. You know, they need to get Crawford up there. He's an exceptional talent, no doubt about that. He's a very, very intelligent guy, quite quietly spoken. I met him in August last year in Las Vegas. He's a real at the Nevada Hall of Fame. He seems like a very intelligent guy. If you watch him box, he boxes orthodox, he boxes southpaw. He's got like a box of tricks that really would baffle even the top fighters pound for pound, that's an exceptional fighter. Okay, so Amir Khan, for me, he seems like a guy whose enthusiasm for boxing has died. I'll give you an example. When he boxed Samuel Vargas in his last fight, who, you know, really, if Amir Khan is going to do anything at this point in his career, he has to be really, really spectacularly dispatching guys like that, getting rid of them. And I think that's why they picked Samuel Vargas. That's why the fight was made. It's a marketing tool. But Vargas gave him trouble. I mean, Khan was outboxing him for the most part. I mean, he drops Khan in the fight with a very clumsy right hand, and I just think someone that is really like a top-end athlete, an elite level boxer who's really on his game, would never have got hit with that, or very, very seldomly got hit. And when it happened, I wasn't that surprised. I was very pleased to hear the bell ring. It was at the end of the round, and Khan gets up and recuperates. But it also sent out a message to me. It said, like, you know, Khan's days of being really focused and being able to perform at the top level, because if he makes mistakes like that against Terence Crawford, this will be a very short and painful fight for him. He needs to hear. He needs to be switched on from the start. I think if he has a chance, it's to pinch as many of the early rounds as he can and hope that Crawford then has to come to him. And there's a saying in boxing, the last thing to go is his punch, and Khan will still be able to punch hard and hope that Crawford gambles. I've got to say, look, that's what I think gives him his best chance. Despite the fact that's his best chance, I don't think he's got much of a chance. I mean, I don't want to sound unpatriotic, but I just think that this is a British guy. Basically, I can understand why it appeals to him, this fight, because if he beats Crawford, he's right back in the mix, that's for sure. And these guys, you know, especially when they've competed at that level before, it's very difficult for a boxer to accept, you know, the party's over now. You know, things aren't going to be the same now as what they were before. And I think that's probably why it appealed to him. I mean, I think probably in Khan's mind, he could well have been thinking, I take this fight, if things don't go to plan, I can always come back and box Brook. But in boxing, marketing's very important, and Brook wasn't impressive in his last performance. Khan goes out, if he does get convincingly beaten or stopped by Crawford, is it as simple as that he can just come back and fight Brook? I don't think so. I think people's appetite for that fight, I think it's dimming, if you like, it's withering away as it is, and I think very likely if he gets badly beaten, then I mean pay-per-view wise the numbers will diminish rapidly. And will the fight even get made? Will Sky want to put it on? Will Eddie Hearn want to feature it? Okay, anyway, so back to this fight. We've got Amir Khan 5'8.5" against Terence Crawford 5'8", so pretty much the same height. Crawford actually has a significantly longer reach, I think it's about 8 centimeters reach. That's significant at that weight, and it poses a problem for Khan, because Khan traditionally he signed with Frank Warren Promotions when he turned pro, and all the matchmaking I know very well, because I speak to Dean Powell, Frank Warren's matchmaker, on a pretty much daily basis. The matchmaking was always loaded in his favour. I actually had a guy called Andrew Murray who I really fancied. We got offered the fight. Unfortunately, Andrew, you know, he had other plans for what he wanted to do himself, but golden opportunity, because I knew Khan, and this is I think significant, that Khan's defeats where he has not held punishment so well have all come when he's been really tight at the weight. Like I say, when he boxed Bredis Prescott, I knew in advance, well in advance, that he was really, I mean look, he got dropped by Willie Limond, who I mean by anyone's standards is not a huge puncher, and I think there is in the back of my mind the fact that he went up to box Canelo. He then gets dropped by Samuel Vargas in his last fight by a particularly impressive looking attack. I mean, it's very clumsy. The guy Vargas sort of just walks in with a right hand, very uncreative, unimaginative, no trickery involved, just comes in with a right hand. So at the end of the round, Khan loses concentration, but I mean, a guy that's really going places, who's really switched on, who's boxing like his life depends upon it, doesn't get clumsy like that, doesn't get caught with that kind of punch, and Khan did. And to me that sort of flicks a switch in my head saying, well, this guy hasn't got the same appetite for boxing, for the game, that he had a little while ago. Maybe actually he has got the appetite, but he doesn't have the ability that he had before. Maybe his skills have dulled a little bit. Maybe his ability to concentrate, to focus for the full sort of 3 minutes of every round have diminished, because early on Khan had that. There's no doubt. He shone. He had it in abundance. He was a consummate professional. He is an exceptionally talented guy. And one thing in his favour, they say the punch is the last thing to go. If he can nick those early rounds, which I actually think that he does have the ability, the problem being that Khan will have to work in fourth gear from he's going to realise, right, wow, this, because Crawford's trickery, his cunning, his guile, his switching from southpaw to orthodox, lefty to righty, the lateral movement, the closing down, and I'll tell you one thing, if Khan gets caught, as he did against Samuel Vargas, Crawford will get him out of there. Crawford will have him out of there, and that's 100%. Crawford has like a radar. This is how he seemed, and I've met Crawford. He was at the Nevada Hall of Fame last year. He came across as a very sort of intelligent, very personable guy, and he has a radar in his head that just switches, and if he knows a guy's hurt, he will finish the fight. No question. I mean, and here we have a fight where he's got a very, very high probability that he will catch Khan over the 12 rounds. I would say probably around the halfway mark, if it goes that far, things will get very tough for Khan. And imagine it does happen early, which it could do, because Crawford can punch, and like I say, he has like a radar in his head for sensing blood and for sensing a guy in trouble. If he senses Khan in trouble and finishes Khan early, then what happens to the Khan Brook fight? Well, I'll tell you what, it probably doesn't happen. It probably finishes right there. Anyway, right, in terms of prediction, what am I going to go for? You can probably guess I'm going to go for Terence Bud Crawford, and I think, unfortunately, by stoppage, I would say around round. I'm going to go for like round 5. I hope that I'm wrong, because I like Amir Khan and I'd like to see him do well and represent Britain. But as is becoming the norm nowadays, British guys going over to America, it's often slanted against us. It always has been. but this is one where I just think, you know, I think, okay, Khan has more chance against Crawford than Crolla had against Lomachenko, but I'll leave it there with you. So yeah, probably Crawford around round 6, 7. We only say one round, right? Round 6. Thank you guys. Bye bye. If you enjoyed the blog, please hit the subscribe button.